Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Shadebinder, and specifically how I feel that Shadebinder is the best class in the game, hands down, and I'm going to make an argument for that right now. I'm also going to talk about kind of how I have it set up, and it's not ideal. I'm not going to say that my setup is best or perfect or gospel by any means. If you watch Glow or any other high-end PvP streamer or YouTuber, they will probably tell you the same thing, that this is one of the best class, if not the best class, and everybody runs it different. It's kind of part of its uniqueness, and kind of what makes it so strong is that just every ability that it has access to is extremely powerful when used properly. I mean, Cami Cakes makes great use of the Bleak Watchers, and I don't. So we're going to talk about what I like about this class and kind of how I have it set up. So obviously we're going to be using Winter's Wrath. You don't really have a choice here. It's the only super you have. However, it is a very good super. It has a really long cooldown, so you're probably not going to see it often in trials. But there is a guy, his name is Zen. Shout out to my friend Zen. I play trials with him almost every weekend, and he is a Shadebinder main. He and I play together enough that I see Shadebinder come up and basically just steal around. Very, very powerful, akin to, Arc Strider with Raju's Harness, in the sense that it lasts a really long time and has basically no real answer to beating it if the player knows how to use it. Moving on, we're going to talk about our rifts. So I'm using Healing Rift right now, but Empowering Rift is also very good, and not necessarily just because it enhances your weapons and gives you that buff, which obviously is strong, but Empowering Rift actually has a faster animation as you're coming out of using it. So you can actually follow up with a Frost Pulse Freeze and melee or shotgun just a few frames faster if you're using Empowering Rift, which sometimes can be life or death. So if you're really, really, really committed to using Frost Pulse and you don't really use Healing Rift all that much anyway, and you're using it simply as a defensive or offensive tool to like clutch around, Empowering Rift is probably the better choice. But I'm kind of a campy warlock, so I will use my Healing Rift to sit in a rift and win a 1v1, so I like the pressure this adds, so I'm sticking with Healing Rift for now, but either work totally fine. I'm going with Burst Glide. I don't think this is really, up for debate. I think Burst Glide just is the best warlock jump, maybe besides Blink, but it's not here. So I would say Burst Glide's obviously your choice. It helps you skate, helps you move up those staircases faster if you bind your jump to your mouse wheel. And even on controller, still the best thing for, gaining momentum and kind of moving forward. Penumbral Blast, our only melee, but possibly the best reason to play this class. Holy moly, is this ability busted. Like, as you'll see in some of the gameplay, a Penumbral Blast can just, literally one melee can freeze a guy, blast him, you get your Ice Flare bolts, and you take out his two teammates, and it's just GG LOL. Like, what do you do? What a free ability. Problem is it's kind of a skill shot, and I think that's kind of why a lot of people don't use Shadebinder all that much. Just because, it's a lot like the weighted throwing knife, where if you miss, you're kind of dead. If you don't play your cover, if you don't peek with it, but instead you just, full blown ball to the wall, commit, and you whiff, you're basically dead. And that does happen in the gameplay I'm about to show you, and just kind of showcases the risks of using such a powerful ability. In the gameplay, I'm using Cold Snap grenades, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that those are the best, because I don't think they are. I think Cold Snaps are extremely inconsistent and kind of lead to more feel bads moments than actual outplay potential. However, I'm kind of a noob. I'm not very good with glaciers in terms of setting them up for blocking cover and sight lines. I'm not quite familiar with those yet, so Cold Snap's been kind of my default as just another way to freeze and kind of be thematic with the better not push me, I'll shut you down with the freeze. But Dusk Fields also do something very similar, and their uptime is much greater, so Dusk Fields may just be the better choice. And if you ask Glow, he would agree. But I was using Cold Snap in the gameplay, and I don't think there's anything wrong with these. You can still use these to great success. So for our aspects, we're using Ice Flare Bolts and Frost Pulse, and I really like Frost Pulse, probably more than I should. One of the main attractive things to me here is that I can both set up a rift for team shooting or getting my health back if I'm being chased, while also posing the threat that if you come around this corner that you could get frozen by my rift, right? I'm getting overshield while you're frozen. Your teammates are going to try to run in and save you, but Ice Flare Bolts is going to make it so you get waxed by those. Like, it makes it very hard for shotgun apes to push you, and it makes it very scary for the enemy team, because when you play on like a tight quarter map, something like Endless Vale or Wormhaven, where there's lots of tight corridors, Ice Flare Bolts are terrifying, or Frost Pulse is terrifying, and Ice Flare Bolts in combination is just spooky. I'm using Whisper of Chains just so I get a little bit of recovery for these stat splits that I like. And also, you know, you get some reduced damage when you're around these stasis crystals or you freeze people, which does come up, just not as frequently as you would think. This is strictly for the stat splits. I just want to get to 6 resilience, 100 recovery, and 100 strength. So this helps me get there. Plus it gives me a little bit of intellect, and with the slower cooldown, it's nice to have in trials. Whisper of Torment, very, very good. Very akin to the Arc fragment that Spark of Recharge. Very similar. And then Whisper of Durance, this helps me get to that 100 strength. And if I'm using Dusk Fields, you know, it goes with those pretty well too. So always an option. I'm going to be using Austringer and Duality, kind of sticking with that glow theme. And the other half. Speaking of which, if you have not heard of Glow or have not spent any time on his YouTube channel or his Twitch, please go and check him out. He is a phenomenal content creator and the best Shadebinder I know. Very well worth watching him and getting his take as well. He is much better than I am, so I get a lot of my information from him. Moving on, we're using hand cannon targeting because I'm a noob. Hand cannon loader and fastball. Fastball, you know, might not be necessary when you're using the stasis nades, but it is nice to have just like a quicker impact and like firing your kind of bank shots off deeper, which I enjoy quite a bit. And then hand cannon loader, I mean, we're using Ophidians, so it doesn't really matter. Speaking of which, the reason why we're using Ophidians is because of the increased melee range. Yes, the handling buff is totally amazing and awesome and would be the main reason to run these exotics in any other case. But if it didn't have the increased melee range, I would be using Osteomancy gloves. But the reason why we're using Ophidians is because if we freeze somebody, especially with the Rift, it is imperative that you connect a melee and shatter them. You cannot whiff this. You cannot allow them to unfreeze, because it's a very similar situation when you whiff Penumbral Blast. You just die. So Ophidians help in both aspects. They help you ready your weapon faster if they're far enough away for, you know, you need to bust out a slug shot. Or if they're close enough, you can melee them and you have that extended range. So it's very, very good. Using Unflinching Hand Cannon. And then double outreach alongside quick charge just to kind of get that animation speed bonus up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, Duality already has 80 and we're using Ophidian, so it's not really doing a ton for us there, but you know, any bit of handling helps. And then double outreach to get our Penumbral Blasts even faster, because 43 seconds is simply not fast enough, if you ask me. Anywho, that is the build, and let's get into the gameplay. Our opponents are playing quite passive. Did again. Throw that bad boy down. Okay, alright, alright. See what we can make happen here. Big strength of Shadebinder is its ability to kind of clutch up 1vx's. So, kind of just being patient, waiting for these guys to make a mistake. Longer the round takes, the better. I'm just building super and ability energy. No, it's not as entertaining, but... Okay, that's a child. Watch out for. This dude's gonna make a move soon. Got him! Patience is everything with this class. Positioning, understanding what your opponents are gonna do. Alright, we're doing something a little unconventional today. Gonna do kind of like a live commentary game. Because I really wanted to put out a video about Shadebinder. And I feel like this kind of freeform style is kind of fitting my personality, so I'm kind of digging it right now. But let me know in the comments what you think. Okay, so I'm actually getting tagged from both sides here.
1 minute.
Let's slide a cold snap right here.
Don't let them catch them.
So one thing to keep in mind with cold snap grenades, which I'm not saying are the best option. You can use any of the grenades. All three of them have a place here. But something with cold snaps you need to remember is that if you throw them at like doorways, you want to throw them like before the doorway. Because if you try to throw it like at the doorway or too close to a doorway, they will like ride up the side of the doorway and not track at all. And then you just wasted your grenade. Where's the fun in that, huh? We're gonna try to help our team out here. I hear some linear fusions. I don't know if that's my team or the enemy team, but okay, so in a situation like this, they're kind of all clumped up, right? So like a really well-timed cold snap or penumbral blast will whoop them good. Whoops, didn't mean to fire off my melee there. Gotcha. Really like Freeze Rift. I absolutely love baiting people around corners with this. It's so fun. The clutch potential in Shadebinder is next level. So on Wormhaven, I really like to go underneath because it gives, like, most people will take this like upper sight line. So I really like going underneath and like kind of taking pop shots at people right here. But you do have to watch anybody else who decides to go low because they have a pretty free cross on you right there. You're not paying attention.
1 minute left.
Well played, sir. I did not expect that. Not gonna lie, kind of thought he was farther back. I have faith. He's a striker titan. He'll just blast one of them, and then all of them will die. Oh, it was close. It was, yeah, you know. He tried. He tried.
Over yet, Guardian. Rally and fight. You're ahead. Keep them sweating.
Right, we got heavy rounds. So this is when taking down below is advantageous. Because you can kind of see people as they approach, and I assume I will not be the only one down here. Reminds.
Now make it rain. One minute. One opponent left.
We'll just go for this guy with Eager Edge. Eat. Really showcasing Shadebinder's power there with the old Eager Edge sword, you know what I'm saying?
You're in the lead.
Sometimes the best part about Shadebinder isn't what you can do or what you do, but what you can do. And yes, more I said do. But it still rings true. Sometimes just the fear of a penumbral blast or a freeze rift is enough to make your opponents like play more reserved,
Enemy remains.
you know?
Don't let them catch their breath. Can you taste that? It's called victory.
Way out here.
Match point. You can win this. Show me.
Also, I would like to point out that I am solo queuing and that I do not know this guy. Funny name, but I do not know him.
Only one enemy remains. Don't let them catch their breath. You're the last one standing. Show them what one guardian can do. You're all down.
Well, they just gave me the business.
Stand up and fight again.
But they all left, so
Victory is within reach. Don't let
time for us to uninstall. Agreed. I'm getting message after message on Discord here. Forgive me for that. And I'm not a good enough editor to get rid of those noises, so Sure, it's really going to hurt the numbers in the long run. Well, there you have it.
Enemies eliminated.
Shadebinder in a nutshell.
Team stands alone.
Maybe those games weren't exactly the best showcase of what Shadebinder's capable of. But I do hope that you could see kind of how our team, or the enemy team, was a little nervous to kind of move in. They were nervous to pressure. Because, I mean, they came around a corner and they ate a freeze rift that one time. And it was more than enough to get them to cower in fear. So hopefully you guys like this video. And I will catch you on the other side. Peace.